Let's talk about your acting approach. Um, the part that I really enjoyed, again, going back to Kim's Convenience, because that's fresh in my mind from binging every episode for of the last 4 seasons. Um, every time your character, Mr. Meta, was coming on, I really was looking forward to it because I love the way he speaks. And I love the verbal kind of jousting that's going on between him and Appa. And I love your comedic timing. So to me, it was always probably the most fun character that I looked forward to seeing all the time. Um, how is it playing him for you? Is it enjoyable because you're a writer, you're a director, so I'm sure
Well,
your brain is looking at it.
Okay, well, there's two things I could say about playing Mr. Mehta on Kim's Convenience.
Yeah.
First, I swear to God, on my mother's, she's still alive, God bless her, soul, I'm not trying to be funny. Okay? Regardless of whether the part was comedic or whether the part is drama or whatever, I'm not trying to be funny and I'm not trying to be dramatic. And in that case, I'm just trying to be truthful.
Okay.
Okay? I have to rely on the writing to do the heavy lifting in terms of what's funny and what's not funny. I mean, I will take credit for timing and I will take credit for delivery, but without the text itself being funny, there's nothing I can do to make it funny. I mean, I can probably add some shtick to it, but I know that I'm standing on thin ice. In our case, in the case of Kim's Convenience, the writing is tremendous. The material is so good that I just have to show up almost. I mean, that's how I feel anyway. Now, you know, there's a lot of things I think I bring to the craft of playing Mr. Mehta. For instance, you talk about his voice. Well, that vocal delivery is based on a couple of people I know. My spouse's boss speaks in that way. He's not Indian, but he has the way of, you know, there's occasionally when Mr. Mehta sort of shouts a word out, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, that I stole from him. You know, he speaks with an accent because he's an immigrant, but I've played immigrant characters who speak with accents before. And if you listen to those characters, like the character I played on Little Mosque on the Prairie was also an Indian immigrant with an accent, but he came from a different class, a different background than Mr. Mehta does. So the accent wasn't the same. Mr. Mehta's accent, there's a famous Indian restaurateur in Canada who I know personally. His name's Vikram Bij, and I kind of copied a bit of his accent because it's a kind of erudite, high class kind of accent, you know, educated and posh, and I wanted that to be his accent, not a working class, you know, guy who's you know, just trying to get along. Mr. Mehta comes with a different attitude, and I thought that you know, so I bring that to it. The other thing that I've always felt is important, and this is pure craft stuff, knowing how a character walks. If I know how a character walks, if I can figure that out, and I know it's not a big thing, it's a very little thing, but somehow being comfortable in the movement of a character, being comfortable in the voice of a character, once I nail that for myself, the acting kind of takes care of itself. You know, like my approach has always been that acting, writing, directing, they're all the same job. The job is storytelling. And if you understand story, then you just apply the principles of storytelling to whichever job in the storytelling process you have. So as a writer, your storytelling, you have to understand what a story is. You have to know, you know, the principles of story structure, how to execute in terms of scenes and dialogue. That's on paper. A director is a storyteller, you know, behind the camera or with the camera, and he has to understand what matters and what doesn't matter so that he's aiming the camera in the right direction. The actor is in front of the camera telling the story, and if I don't understand the story, if I don't know what story means as an actor, there's no way I can act it, at least as far as I'm concerned. It's because I was a writer, it's because I was a director that I think I bring a certain skill set to being an actor that's in the same arena, and that enables me to be not just a quote unquote good actor, but useful, because the job that all of these departments have, acting, directing, writing, editing, cinematography, makeup, lighting, every one of those jobs is telling the story. And every one of those jobs requires the person doing them to understand the story. Because the makeup artist is telling the story through how they do the makeup. The wardrobe designer, like I often go into fittings, and they're really interesting for me because I have a creative conversation with the costume designer in terms of the story. And how are we telling the story through the wardrobe? And are we telling the story through the wardrobe? And I get really annoyed with designers who just sort of have gone to the store and dressed and got some clothes. And some do, you know, and I really push them and say, look, I want what I'm wearing to be part of this. Like if I'm dressed, the better I'm dressed in terms of telling the story, the less acting I have to do.
Yeah.
The better the set is. I mean, you haven't seen Transplant, but this is a hospital show that I'm in. Kim's Convenience is the #1 comedy in Canada, and Transplant is the #1 drama on Canadian television. And I'm in both of them, so I'm very lucky.
Nice.
But Transplant is a big show set in a hospital, and our set, which is in Montreal, is on a soundstage, and this set is jaw-dropping. I mean, it is, as far as you can tell, a real hospital. I've been on a lot of sets in my career. You walk around the corner and you see it's a set. You know, the wall is fake, and there's a sandbag holding it up and all that kind of stuff. On our set in Montreal on Transplant, you feel like you're in a real hospital. The walls don't move. The floor is real. The ceiling's there. And other than, you know, you can eventually find a door and goes outside and you realize, oh, we're in a soundstage. You feel like you're in a hospital. So when you've got that level of reality as an actor to be in, you don't have to act as much, which is good, right? The less acting, quote unquote, you do, and the more being, the more reacting you are able to do as an actor, the better. And I think, getting back to Kim's Convenience, when you talked about, okay, you enjoy seeing Mr. Mehta show up, I think it's because of all of that. I think it's a combination of really good material, you know, a really clear character that I've invented through the way I walk and the way I speak, and an ease as a result of not quote unquote acting, but just trying to be truthful. And I think that's why it works.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That actually is a lot of extremely useful information, because, you know, we're taught many different methods on how you can put yourself in the life of somebody else and how to be truthful in that. And it's very easy to get lost in it. And
I know what you're talking about, and it infuriates me, because I think acting training has taken on a life of its own that has very little to do with the reality of being a professional actor.
Yep.
Very few of the pros that I work with have much good to say about all of that kind of stuff that you're talking about in terms of actor training and all that. I mean, it may be an interesting exercise to do as a student, but it's not practical in a real professional situation. Nobody does that stuff.
So if you were to say, in addition to what you just were describing as your approach, what would be the practical aspects that you would recommend for a real working actor?
Well, first of all, understand the material. Understand the material from inside out. So that means it is better for an actor to read as many plays as they can, so that they learn what story is and what structure is and what it is, what their job is in terms of that character within that story. You know, so I remember when I was directing kids, I did a lot of kids television, and I would give them an exercise to do as homework, which they really enjoyed. And I said, look, for every one of your scenes, I want you to, on the left side of the page, which is blank, I want you to write the answers to 3 questions. What just happened? How do I feel? What do I want? And I want you to write one-word answers for each of those questions. So that whenever we do that scene, you can look at that left side of your page and remind yourself, what just happened? Okay, my mother got mad at me. How do I feel? I feel sad. What do I want? I want comfort. Okay? So now you can walk into that scene, and with all the chaos of film production, where somebody's fitzing with your face and somebody's moving you around and you're giving you a mark and you're 12 years old on your first kids TV show, and you got an idiot like me directing you, you don't have to get lost in that, because you know the answers. All you have to do is remember the answers to those questions. What just happened? Oh, my mother got mad at me. How do I feel? Sad. What do I want? Comfort. And no matter what you do, then the acting of it comes out of that, right? It comes out of a very clear, simple intention. I want comfort. And the text may be you coloring a book. Maybe that's the shot of the kid coloring in a coloring book, but the actor is going to be coloring that book with that intention in mind, and the camera will see that. And that's the truth, right? If you try to do more than that, you're going to then get outside yourself. You're going to get in your head, and it's going to be false. And the camera can see falseness really quickly. So I think it's about being truthful and getting under the skin of the material enough so that you can play a very clear, simple intention. Because we go through our lives, we're not complicated, double thinking everything that we do. We just show up and be. Yeah. And I think that's how you need to be going into a scene. And as I said, that's why I rely on things like the text, the costume, the lighting, the wardrobe. That's, the set design, that's got to do a lot of the work, because I'm going to be doing as little acting as I can in order to be truthful. Because acting, and you know what I mean when I say acting, I mean being phony and false and outside yourself. I want to be genuine and true and real inside myself, and I do everything I can to strip away all the crap and allow that to happen. So that, especially in film and television, what happens is I end up doing something I couldn't repeat. I didn't know I was going to do it. Yeah. I was just in the moment. Yep. Right? Thankfully, we're filming it, so they got it. But then the director comes up to me and says, "Oh, do that again." I said, "What? I don't know what I did. I was just in the moment. I hope you had the camera on." Yeah. I mean, I will do it again, but I can't guarantee repeating it, because I wasn't trying to do something the first time. I was being, right, in the moment with that text. I was hitting my mark and all of those technical things, but all those kinds of things, and it's. I mean, I know what directors are saying when they want that, because they want the other angle and they liked it so much and all that, and I will I'll do the best I can. Yeah. But I'm also pointing out to them that I'm not faking it, right? So you can't sort of, you have to be playing your A game, because I'm playing my A game. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And again, we get, by we, I'm going to say, people like myself, we get so much into the mechanical aspects, and we get into our head, and we get into, okay, well, what did I do on this take? Because now we have to do another 15 takes, and then we have to change the shot, and then we have to do this. So not only do I have to remember my lines, I have to remember, and you go through all of that, and it takes you out of it, and it takes real mental kind of energy draining process to get yourself back. So I love what you're saying, because it removes that, and it gets it down to a very simple thing. Before every take is,
it's simple. It's simple. Yeah. I'm not saying it's easy.
You're right.
But that's why it's doable.
It's repeatable.
Because it's, well, no, it's simple. So you can aspire to that. whereas it's not complex, it's not complicated, it's not, you know. And so, but I'm not going to say that it's easy. Don't confuse simple and easy.
Right.
It is simple. It's not necessarily easy.
Yeah, repeatable in a sense where before every take you can just remember, okay, what are my 3 things, and then it's repeatable,
Right.
so you can
Yeah.
get into that habit. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And it means that you're not injecting crap into the scene,
yeah,
you know, to make it work. You're allowing the scene to unfold with you in it. And you know, and I'm not saying that I'm not doing things as an actor,
Mhm.
you know, as I said, with the vocal delivery and the timing and all that stuff. And a lot of that can't be taught.
Right.
It's you know, you either have it or you don't. But what can be taught, I think, is what I talked about, which is getting under the skin of the material, understanding what just happened, how do I feel, what do I want, focusing on your intention, and then allowing the scene to happen to you.
Perfect.